And welcome into another episode of Tobs Talk, everyone. I am Riley Corcoran. The Tobs, a huge win last night in front of their biggest crowd of the year, defeating the Petersburg Generals for the fourth time this season. Score of 5-2 in front of 3,500 loyal Tobs fans. Tobs scored all 5 of their runs in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Luke Lowry hit a 3-run home run, his third, to get tied with the team lead with Kevin Jordan. It was a tie-breaking home run, and the Wilson Tobs propelled themselves to a victory. The back end of the bullpen was great yet again. Tyler Joyner picked up the win. He pitched for the Tobs a little bit last year as well. So again, very nice to see in front of a great crowd. Fireworks show, spectacular as well. The Tobs will look to turn the page tonight as they host the Wilmington Sharks. It's been very close every time these two have played. The Tobs going in for the dramatic last time out as they hit a grand slam in the top half of the 9th inning down in Wilmington last week to pick up the victory against the Sharks. On the mound will be JT Brubaker, the right-hander out of Akron. He's been great so far for Wilson. 2 wins, ERA a little bit high by his standards, but that's only because of one bad start at Fayetteville. We'll look to pick up yet another win before the All-Star break for Wilson, which of course will be Sunday and Monday. You hear from Coach Austin Love in this episode, as well as Holt Perdzak, who is now second on the team in batting average after his 2-hit game last night. Holt plays for Ole Miss down in the SEC, so he's used to playing in front of big-time crowds, about 8,000 a night, but he said the 3,500 crowd, pretty good. Again, you'll hear from him later on in this episode. Matt, Mike, and I will also break down this episode and also get ready for the Wilmington Sharks coming up tonight. It's all coming up. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran, Austin Love back with you. The Tobs, a great win last night, a come-from-behind win in the 6th inning with 5 runs. And, Coach, electric atmosphere, which we'll get to in a second, but let's talk about the bottom of the 6th inning. Luke Lowry hit a shot, I think, up in Rocky Mount where that ball eventually landed. What a shot it was, that bottom of the 6th inning. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, you know, we got some runners on. I want to say, I can't remember exactly who had first and second or first and third. I want to say it was first and second. And Seth Neely came up, and he had a very professional at-bat. Took an off-speed pitch and flipped it in the right field. 1 run scored, and we had first and third. And then, you know, later on, you know, Jimmy Lupin's had a very, very mature at-bat, taking a walk, which led to Luke coming to the plate and doing what he's done, you know, the last few times he's been out there and hitting one into the darkness. So it was exciting.
And again, Luke Lowry, that's his 2nd consecutive game with the home run. Turned out to be the game winner. Talk about Jimmy Lupins. That was the first walk that he's drawn since being a member of the Tobs, and it was a very professional bat. Kept the inning alive. One of those underrated things you don't think of throughout the course of the game, but very important for the Tobs. From the pitching aspect of things, it was a bit different. Julio Valdez didn't have his best stuff, but he gutted through 5 1/3. Then Joyner came in, picked up the win. Fry and Fitzsimmons. Bullpen just doing their thing again, but from a pitching side of things, what'd you think?
You know, Julio, you know, he was very frustrated with his outing, but, you know, that's when you can find out what kind of pitcher you really have. He didn't have very good stuff, but, you know, when he left the game, we were in contention to win the game. Mm-hmm. So I think after a 5 1/3, if your pitchers got you in the game and you're down by 1 run, you're still pretty much in there. And like you said, with the bullpen, we've got so many guys down there, we can pretty much just pull them out of a hat, and they've been lights out.
It doesn't matter who it is right now for the Tobs. Again, only allowing 3 runs the last 25 innings on the mound, that being the bullpen as a collective team effort. But in the 6th inning, something had to change. I mean, the first 5 innings, there's a guy on the mound that was 0-4 with an ERA around 10. But he had been shutting out the Tobs through 5 innings. The 6th inning, sudden something clicked. Was there a change in approach? You think it was just another time through the order seeing him? What do you think was the recipe for success there in the 6th?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think his first time through the order, he kind of pitched a little bit backwards, threw a lot of breaking balls and change-ups to our middle of the order guys. And that around the 6th inning, you know, he got to a situation where he had to throw more straight balls. He got behind with Luke and had to throw him a fastball, and Luke kind of was sitting on it. You know, so and again with Seth Neely, he's kind of been a guy who's been curveball to death, you know, and he finally, you know, just kind of sat back on one and just flipped it to right field, and that was huge. And they all, you know, our guys are slowly learning, you know, not to panic and kind of let the game come to them.
And going back to Luke Lowry, at least for my side of things, it's nice because the Tobs Talk jinx is off. Someone that comes on Tobs Talk performs the game after, so it's nice to see for Luke. Also with the crowd last night, 3,525 people. It was impressive. It was electric. How much do coaches and players feed off something like that when fans were into the game, obviously staying afterwards for the fireworks show, but what does that change as far as the mindset, the perspective of the ballgame?
It makes the game that much more exciting. I mean, just like anybody in any industry, you want to play, you know, in front of a crowd, and to have a crowd like that last night, you know, it was kind of expected. You know, our young men, it's kind of what they live for. It kind of gives them a glimpse of what they potentially could, you know, be in front of when they go to minor league ball. And some of these guys, like the young man's going to be on here today. I mean, he performs in front of this stuff pretty much every weekend, where he's from. But, it makes a huge difference in the atmosphere and the adrenaline rush that you get. And it makes the game that much more exciting and kind of pushes you to do a little better.
And talking about Holt Perdzak, who plays in the SEC and who's come on strong, now batting over 300, second on the team in batting average. 2 hits for him last night. Again, that catcher position we're talking about, teams, they're players that can play hybrid positions. It's kind of a luxury that not many teams have, where Ridge Gonsolin can play at second base, also any of the outfield spots. Holt can catch, he can play any of the outfield spots. Luke Lowry can play at first if you wanted him to. I mean, it's just all the way around the board. How does that help you out as a coach to get the hot guys in the lineup?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome, and we're very, 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 very lucky to have so many players. Bradley Morton can play some infield. Seth Neely can play the middle of the field as well. So it allows us to make moves and not lose all of our tools. We can still have power in the lineup. We can still have speed. We can still have guys that set up, and get on base for guys. So it's pretty awesome, and just to have the number of players that we do that can play at the level that they can is very exciting. And
again, the Wilson Tobs now 1-1 in the second half, 16-12 overall. 2 games remaining before the All-Star break on Sunday. Again tonight, team taking on Wilmington before going to Petersburg tomorrow. This game against Wilmington, kind of underrated for now, but this is the team that the Tobs are battling with for the time being, at least, to make it into the playoffs, 4th and 5th in the standings. How important is tonight's game to build that positive momentum like we've always been talking about towards the All-Star break?
Every game is important, especially on the day of, because that's the one you got in front of you, And so as we continue to try to, get to our goal of 30 wins, just one game at a time, and especially these teams in the middle of the pack, with Peninsula, who overall record-wise in the middle of the pack, trying to make a run at the Pettit Cup as well, So winning these games against Wilmington, Peninsula, and Morehead City are going to be huge. And hopefully we'll continue to do what we're doing. JT Brubaker's on the mound tonight, and hopefully he'll have a good outing, and we'll get a big hit at some point and score some runs.
Again, the Wilmington Sharks, a lot of good pitchers for them. They have about 3 guys with a sub-1 ERA, so we'll see who's here on the mound for Wilmington. As far as JT Brubaker, instead of just talking about what he needs to do tonight, now that we're facing these teams for more than just 2, 3, 4 times, seeing the lineup turn over, how important is it to go back and look at those previous performances? I know things can change throughout the course of a season, but learning from a scouting report, learning from just being there, how much do pitchers really need to take that into account as we move forward?
It helps to look at those things, but I just believe in you have to pitch to your strengths or play to your strengths, period. Because if you look at the scouting report too much and you try to attack somebody's weakness, if that's your weakness, it can hinder you. So, JT's going to go out there and pitch his game. And, they've got some big hitters in the middle of the lineup. But if he attacks hitters the way he has been here lately, he'll do fine.
JT Brubaker only with 1 rough start. Besides that, all have been quality for the Wilson Tobs. We'll talk with Holt Perdzak coming up next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran back here with Holt Perdzak. A 2-hit game for Holt last night. Now second on the Tobs. The 321 batting average coming on strong from an SEC school in Ole Miss. And Holt, let's talk about your year at school this past season. You appeared in 39 games. You had 6 starts, but you're a good pinch hit bat off of the bench. What was the experience like as a true freshman at SEC school?
It was awesome. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot more bats than I thought I would get, and ended up being one of the only lefties on the bench, so I got a lot of pinch hits.
And again, for you, the hybrid player defensively, like we just talked about with Coach Love, you can catch as well as playing outfield. When did that develop, being able to play both? Has it been something you're just used to your whole career, or when did you develop both those positions?
When I was younger, I actually used to play infield, and then as I got older, I started playing outfield, and then I just decided to start catching because I figured I'd get more playing time wherever I was, and I started catching in high school, and it just kind of went from there.
And again, from the catching perspective, a lot of guys tell me it helps them with their hitting approach. Might see what pitchers want to throw. Has that been something that's happened for you throughout your career and helping out from the hitting side of things?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're catching, calling your own game and everything, you can figure out what people are going to do to you, or because you would figure out like what you would do to yourself and everything. So it helps out a lot.
And again, Holt Perdzak playing for an Ole Miss team that made the regionals this year, losing out at the Raleigh Regional against North Carolina State. To have so much success and to be a member of that in an SEC school, like again, you had 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people at each game. The experience had to be great, but to play with success and be able to handle that, how did that mold you and shape you as a player this past year?
It did a lot. I mean, just playing in front of that many people every night, it's a new scene for me. I mean, and it was just a great experience.
And coming from Memphis, Tennessee, and having to overcome a lot in high school, a huge injury, a labrum surgery, I believe, and having to overcome that, what did that do to your development? And again, going from the Division I level, not sure, maybe I'm not going to have that many scholarship offers and still going to an SEC school. What was that like going through the labrum surgery?
I mean, it was tough. I honestly didn't even know if I was going to play in college at one point because it took me probably a year and a half to come back fully from the surgery, but everything ended up working out, so thankful.
Yeah, and again, for you coming back from it, is there any point where you still have some pain there? Is it 100% gone now?
Now I really don't feel it at all anymore. It's 100% now. So.
Well, good thing to hear for sure. And Holt Perzock now playing for the Tobs. It was kind of a, you could say maybe a slow start, a very smooth swing at the plate. Now batting over 300, a 2-hit game again last night, batting that 2-hole. Well, how would you assess your time, at least for the first couple of weeks with the Wilson Tobs?
I started off really well. My timing got a little messed up for a few games, but I feel like it's back now. I'm more comfortable at the plate, so feeling good again.
And again, between the games, what do you do to get ready? As far as, I mean, your swing, you can't emphasize enough how smooth it is, how easy you make it look at the plate. Obviously, we know it's not easy, but what do you do to prepare in between the games, maybe when you need to make an adjustment with your swing?
I mean, whenever I'm struggling, I'm normally just speeding everything up a little bit, so I just try to slow it down when I'm up there hitting and just see the ball longer.
And again, we've seen you in different roles in the batting order, 5, 6, even 7, I believe once, now up to 2 in the batting order. Does that change your approach? I mean, do you have a preference of where you like to hit?
No, not really. It really doesn't matter to me. Wherever I am, I'm just going to try to hit. So.
Well, and again, for the rest of the season with the Wilson Tobs, where do you see this team going? Again, a ton of talent, just trying to find the spots, it seems like, for everyone. Good problem to have, but what do you see with this team as we move forward?
I mean, we look really good. We got a good bullpen, good starters, and everybody seems to be swinging it pretty well now. Just getting everybody in the lineup, I think, will be good.
And trying to build some confidence after last night's win. Holt Perzock with 2 hits, batting over 320 now. Matt Michael will join me next. We'll break down this matchup against Wilmington tonight. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran back here with Matt Micah. The Tobs, a big win last night in front of a huge crowd, winning 5-2 against the Petersburg Generals. A little bit of everything we can go with, Matt, but just first talk about the atmosphere itself. I know you were very impressed with it. I was as well. 3,500 fans in attendance, wall-to-wall, it seems, standing room only, of course, in the beer garden, but all the way around the line. Just really cool to see that kind of atmosphere in Wilson.
Yeah, for us, we're up from north, and we don't really get that environment. Right. I was totally impressed. I was just, it blew my mind how crazy the fans were. The beer garden was packed, the stadium was packed, and the players fed off that energy, and you could definitely see that as the game went along.
As a former player for you, did you ever play in front of a crowd that big, or did you have one game you can remember, wow, the crowd really made a difference, like in a game last night?
I would say when I was playing for the New York Pilots, it was a championship game in Amsterdam, and there was 6,000 people there. And it was the Game 3, deciding game out of a 3-game series, and it gave me goosebumps, playing in front of that crowd.
Well, pretty impressive to have that in a playoff game before a regular season game. I know the fireworks had a part in it because of some of the casual fans that were there. Very, very impressive to see. As a player, how do you feed off that kind of energy? I mean, the fans were into it the whole game. I mean, those were by far the loudest cheers of the season that we heard in the 6th inning when Luke Lowry hit that home run. But how does that change your mindset as a player, what you're feeling in there during the game?
Oh, it changes everything. As a pitcher, a former pitcher, you just feed off that energy. You dial in more as a hitter. Next thing you know, you get string a couple hits, and Lowry hits the blast, and everyone feeds off that energy because you're scoring runs, and it's just great to be involved with that.
And again, let's talk about the pitching side of things. The bullpen was great again. We have talked with Coach Love earlier today about how Julio Valdez really didn't have his best stuff, but still gutted through it. Sometimes you have to do that to help your team out. That's what Julio did. The back end of the bullpen again. We could talk about it every Tobs Talk if we wanted to. Tyler Joyner picked up the win. He got out of some stressful situations, struck out 4 out of the 5 outs he recorded. Then Dylan Fry, that was by far the best inning we've seen him throw. A 1-2-3-8, and then John Fitzsimmons, of course, closing the door for his 5th save. The back end of the bullpen. Anyone really jump out to you, impress you the most in there out of those 3, or just as a collective team effort, again, very solid?
I was very impressed with Dylan Fry. Before the game, I was on the field, and Coach Love was actually speaking to Dylan Fry and working on his mechanics, working on his stride towards the plate, working on his grips on his changeup and his fastball, and he definitely wanted to work and improve on that, and he came out and he succeeded.
And again, for me, Dylan Fry, it's crazy that he did not get as many innings this year at NC State than he did last year. His stuff is electric in that game against Peninsula. The radar gun read 94 miles an hour. Not sure if he was throwing that hard or not, but he definitely can get it up there in the low 90s. Luke Lowry's standpoint, again, the Tobs Talk jinx officially over. I don't want to hear about it from the players anymore about, we can't play well after you getting on Tobs Talk. Luke Lowry proved that wrong. That was the furthest home run we've seen hit all season long. A no-doubter off the bat. Pretty crazy to see. Pretty impressive by Luke Lowry.
Very impressive. You know, like I said before, his strength, his power is unbelievable. And I've been just waiting for him to bust out of that shell, bust out of that little slump that he had, and he's definitely going on a roll right now.
And again, the Tobs have a good problem to have. You just heard from Holt Perdzak, who can catch and play the outfield. He played right field last night. The catching position is getting very, very deep. I don't know if the competition is really driving these guys to play a lot better, but you have Luke Lowry, who was struggling. Now he is in full force, obviously. 2 home runs in his last 2 games. Holt Perdzak second on the team in batting average. Corey Dunbar has just played in 1 game, but he is a huge force as well. So a good problem to have for Coach Love. How do these guys try and feed off each other, not make it too much of a competition where maybe it affects the team's play? But again, a good problem to have with all 3 of these guys performing well.
Oh, it's a great problem to have, you know, for Coach, because now he has different options with his batting lineup. Then you can put stuff, you know, put people in the outfield, put people in the infield, you know, switch it up a little bit. And for the guys, they can feed off each other, help each other out, get better, and also they can push each other, because when the competition increases, your level of play increases.
The Wilson Tobs trying to win their final 2 games before the All-Star break. Host Wilmington tonight, play at Petersburg tomorrow. How important is it to try and not have that hangover effect? I'm not talking about maybe what happened after the fireworks last night, more of getting ready for this game, having that mindset of, okay, even though there won't be 3,500 people in the stands tonight, we still have to get up for it. Hopefully there's 1,500, 2,000 at historic Fleming Stadium, but still, to play your mindset, hey, it's just not going to be the same atmosphere as the night before. How do you overcome that?
You have to just go out there and play your game. So it's a 9-inning ball game. You know, you have to block out everything. You know, obviously the fans are not going to be, you know, the numbers, like you said, are not going to be there, but it's a 9-inning ball game. Just win every single inning, and you win the ball game. JT
Brubaker will be on the mound, the tall righty from Akron. His parents are going to be in attendance as well, so hopefully JT can deliver a win for them. And again, he's been great with the exception of 1 start against Fayetteville. But for JT, what's the #1 thing really you're focusing on to see if he's going to have a good start? It's usually tempo with him, but what are you going to go with this route?
I would say getting ahead with his fastball and then working his curveball and his off speed well. You know, he's a strikeout pitcher, but also use your defense. You know, use your infielders, use your outfielders to your advantage, because they're there to make outs.
JT Brubaker, an outstanding curveball. We'll see if the Tobs can get another win and improve over 500 in the second half rather, as they take on the Wilmington Sharks. We'll wrap up the show next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. And another episode of Tobs Talk in the books. The Tobs with a huge win last night in front of 3,500 fans. Thanks to everyone who came out and helped make that a memorable experience. The fireworks were great as well. Tobs win 5-2, improved to 16-12 on the season, trying to get to that magic number of 30 that you've heard Coach Love talk about all year long. They host the Wilmington Sharks tonight. The game after the 4th of July, trying to keep it going. 2 more games until the All-Star break, which of course will be on Sunday and Monday. This will be the last home game before that break for the Wilson Tobs. On the mound will be JT Brubaker, the right-hander from Akron. Only 1 rough start for him this whole season. He's been very solid for Wilson, trying to turn in yet another quality start. Give it to the back end of the bullpen, who has been outstanding the last couple of weeks. Tobs again 16-12, hosting Wilmington again. It's been pretty wild when the Sharks and the Tobs get together. Last time out, Sean Godfrey had a grand slam in the 9th inning to help propel the Tobs to an impressive comeback. We'll see if we see more dramatic and theatrical stuff happen tonight throughout the course of the game. You heard from Coach Austin Love, as well as Holt Perdzak, standout catcher and outfielder for the Wilson Tobs. Matt, Mike, and I got you ready for tonight's game, and we'll be back Tuesday for the next edition of Tobs Talk. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight.